Hello, people. Andrew here, talking about comics from a reader, collector, speculator, investor point of view. Today I'm talking about a comic called Snakewoman from a company called Virgin Comics. I haven't talked about Virgin Comics before, so I'm going to go through a little bit of their history, what I know of it. So it was founded in 2006 by a group of investors. Sir Richard Branson was probably the biggest financial backer of this, but it included luminaries such as Deepak Chopra and Shekhar Kapoor. And it was based in India, and the idea was that it was a good time for comic books on an international scale. Did I mention that it was founded in 2006? Founded in 2006. What I mean by an international scale is that comics could now reach a greater audience. Already in, say, North America, the manga from Japan was doing well, was selling fine, and it wasn't necessarily superhero based. There was now a request in the market, or a need in the market for books other than superhero books. Now that has been going on for a number of years, but this company decided now was a good time to get into that international market, and a belief that there would be a more accepting of books of international flavor. In this case, India, which has not been well represented within the graphic medium, especially in North America. It may be in other places of the world, but they were thinking that now is a good time to expand knowledge of Indian mythology, cultures, legends through comic books, because there'd be a more accepting audience. The idea they hoped was that it would spark an Indian renaissance as far as culture and literature, mythologies, knowledge itself. So the company called Virgin released three titles to begin with. They had two different lines at the time. One was called the let me get this straight here, the Shakti line, Shakti, the Shakti line, which means power in Sanskrit. And then they did another book called The Director's Cut, which is one of these, which was stories that were inspired or written or created by famous directors. Originally, the first director was supposed to be John Woo, but his project was delayed, so instead we have this project here by Shekhar Kapoor, one of the first three books to come out, the first of the director's cut. Now, I don't know who Shekhar Kapoor is, so I looked up a little bit about him, and I haven't seen any of his films, although one of them was close to being seen. He's from India, and he's actually got a number of accolades. He's been nominated for a BAFTA award, a National Film Award, three Filmfare Awards, which are the Indian equivalent of the award for films. And in 19, what was it? Well, his first film was, I don't have the year, unfortunately. First film was a film called Masoom, and it brought him on the board and had some international acclaim. Then he had a film called Mr. India, which brought even wider international success. And finally, in 1998, he had directed a film called Elizabeth, which is the one that you might be familiar with. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. It was surprisingly not Best Director, and it won for Best Makeup. So the man's got some chops. He's got some credentials behind him. He is definitely a director of note. So he came up with the idea for Snakewoman, but he did not write it. It was written by Zeb Wells, and it was illustrated by Michael Gaydos. And I love the artwork, and I'll get to the story in a second. But the artwork almost alone is worth the purchase of the storyline if you like Michael Gaydos' stuff, which is sort of a blend of sort of a certain realism with a little bit of that edge and sketch and grit to it. So I do like his artwork. The company Virgin Comics, it changed its name to Liquid Comics in 2008, and then by 2013 it was pretty much, well, it had been out of the comic books and was more into designing video games. But I'm a horrible internet detective because I couldn't find anything beyond 2013 about this company called Liquid and any of the work they've done. So I'm just going to be talking about the Virgin Comics and the short line of comic books that they produced. Specifically, I'm going to start off with Snakewoman. What is Snakewoman about? It's interesting. In the beginning, there's an editorial at the back of this book that talks about an ancient rivalry, through legends and myths and actuality between the cobra and the mongoose. The cobra represents wisdom. It looks for the exact right moment to strike because it only has to strike once to down its prey because of the poison. Whereas the mongoose exemplifies persistence, and they both sort of do patience, but persistence because it dodges and weaves in and out, and it does a claw strike here and a bite there, and it wears down the cobra until the cobra makes a fatal mistake, and the mongoose can then come in for the killing blow. So, and it's an ancient rivalry that's been going on for, centuries. And it's been adapted in mythology and it's part of Indian mythology as well. So this story, obviously, the snake part, the cobra part, would be the snake woman, and the mongoose is represented by 68 men. Uh, it's a story about hunter and prey, and how those roles get reversed over time throughout the series. It goes back and forth between hunter and prey. The snake woman wants the end of the 68. The 68 want the end of the snake woman. Along the way, the snake woman herself, Jessica, I don't know if I have her last name, Peterson, something like that. Anyways, she doesn't know that she's the snake woman in the initial beginning of the book. She's the reincarnated soul and spirit of the serpent god. And throughout the book, she's conflicted and has to deal with the reptilian side of the snake spirit, as well as her own human morality and ethics. Is it worth a read? Yes, it is worth a read. I don't want to tell you too much more about it other than what I've just said, because when I went into it, I knew probably just about that, maybe even a little less, and I enjoyed reading each book as it came along. A little bit of surprises. I was anticipating each book, so I enjoyed the read and discovery that came with it. And I do recommend the read, so I'm not going to say more about it. It isn't a long series. There's only 21 books in this series. There's the initial 10-issue run, then there's a 0 issue that sort of does a little bit of backstory after the fact. There's a 6-issue series called Tale of the Snake Charmer, and then a final 4 called The Curse of the 68. I don't have all of them. I don't have the Curse of the 68. And good luck for me finding that in the wild. And I'll talk about that in a minute as well. So overall, though, I do think it is a good read and definitely something you should pick up. So I'm going to lump all of that collector, speculator, investor all into one area because it's sort of all run. So for collecting, you want to collect all of the Virgin comics. There's not a lot of them. They had other directors, because the director John Woo, as I said, Guy Ritchie, he worked on a series as well. They had other famous people, and they called them from The Voices, and it was Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics. He wrote a book. So they were trying to bring in some of these different artists and different talents, and it was pretty much based, for the most part, on Indian mythology, culture, and legend, especially the initial block of books. And as usual, when it comes down to a new series at that time, with 2006, rather than read all of them, because there's a budget and you got to be interested in what's going on in some of the other books, I would pick one title and read that one title and see if I liked it, and I did indeed. Snakewoman, I like snakes, I liked the cover, I liked what little I knew about the concept, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was not surprised, I was rewarded for looking a little bit deeper into which book I wanted to read, and I really enjoyed Snakewoman. So there's not a lot to collect in this series. As I say, for Snakewoman alone, there's only 21 issues. There's not a lot more for any of the others, so collecting the whole Virgin line as far as singular issues is not going to be a huge task. other than the fact that it's hard to find. Now, why is it hard to find? Because it would have been ordered basically to order. Initially, I can see stores ordering a number of number ones and twos and what have you to see if there's interest in this particular book, and the interest would be there, but it wouldn't be phenomenally high. So orders would become less and less, and there would be more orders, specific orders. You would put in a request for a copy of Snakewoman. When I was buying Snakewoman, that's what I had to do because there were no extra copies in the store ever. After about issues 1, 2, or 3, it just, either you bought it or you didn't. So, and I bought it for the first 10 and then 6, and then I did not buy it for the Curse of the 68. I don't recall why. Probably because by that point in time I was out of comic books entirely. So that one was sort of left on the wayside. So that's why I say, as far as collecting it in the wild, it might be a difficult find. Just not as many people ordering, and they won't find that many into the back issue bins. Or, this one I bought this year. I mean, I have my own copy, but I bought a second copy this year, and I found it in a dollar bin. So this goes down to the whole speculation investment point. Is it worth speculating or investing on? And if I was going to buy anything, I did. I bought another issue number 1, which is the first appearance of Snakewoman and all of the characters, all the major characters that are going to be involved in this story. And as I said, it only cost me $1, and that's what I would do. I would buy a good solid copy in a bin, but finding the rest of it may prove difficult, especially the Curse of the 68, because that's the last of the series that was released. So I will be on the hunt for that. As I said, great read. I've read it 3 times already, and I'm sure when I get Curse of the 68, if I get Curse of the 68, I'll reread the entire thing again. I wouldn't invest in it, but I would buy a copy of it. As I say, it only cost me $1. Love that cover. It's my favorite cover of the entire series, but I'm going to go through some of the other covers so you get a chance to see what I'm talking about. Have I read any of the other Virgin books that have come along? No, I have not. Although recently I did find a couple of books. Let's see, one of the series was called the Sadhu, and I did manage to pick up a couple of those books. I haven't read them yet, but because I found that this one was very interesting. I am looking forward to reading those as well. And it was kind of, finding those in a dollar bin could just mean that, as people get older and they get out of their hobby or they streamline it or curate it, they end up, getting rid of a number of books. And sometimes all they do is keep a number of boxes full of what is recommended as keys. And so a lot of the stories they may see, that was a great read, but, I've read it once or twice already. I don't need to keep it forever. I'm going to, sell this off with a lot to a comic book store or whatever. And that's how a lot of books that, make their way into the dollar bin. So I'm hoping at some point in time that I will come across the Curse of the 68. So I did like all of this. The covers here, for the most part, who's the person that did all the covers? Jivan Kang or Javon Kang. Not sure about the pronunciation of his name, but I like most of the covers. I like the interior artwork. There was in the Tale of the Snake Charmer, they had a different artist, Vivek Shinde. And again, I like that artwork as well. I think I still prefer the Michael Gaydos, but I find both artists were qualified for this kind of book, and it's worth a look just for that sort of stuff. So some of the covers, it's got a specific look to it, and I liked the look not only just of the exteriors but also of the interiors. It was an intelligent story. It was it did surprise you from time to time. Learn a little bit about it. Oh, that was the 10th issue. This is issue number 0. And when I bought issue number 0 for only 99 cents, it also was a time when I could buy this little sort of what they call an ashcan rough cut of Nicolas Cage doing one for Virgin called Voodoo Child. So I forgot to mention that he did one as well. So he worked on that, and that was included as well. Then we get the Tales of the Snake Charmer. This was again an interesting continuation of the story. Do you have to read the first 10 issues to appreciate the Snake Charmer? It certainly helps. It is a continuation. It's not a direct. It is a direct continuation, but the first block of 10 stands as its own story, and it could be just read that. But if you wanted to read more and continue on with the adventures, then you'd move into the Tale of the Snake Charmer. This is, I really like this issue. I don't know if I would consider it my favorite of the entire series, but it definitely a solid issue that would be right up there, if not my favorite, at least in the top 5 or whatever. So I did like that. Michael Gaydos did do a couple of covers, one that's coming up here. So he didn't do the interior artwork for, as I say, for Tale of the Snake Charmer, but he did work on some of the covers. That one is pretty gruesome in itself, but as I say, I did like the series overall. And this is the issue number 5 of the Tale of the Snake Charmer, which was an interesting tale as well. Again, it gives you a little bit more of the mythology. It was a good story. And the final one from Tale of the Snake Charmer. Again, kind of this would, I suppose, if you were to look at it and put it into any kind of classification, you would probably put this into horror. That was a pretty horrific image. However, it's more of a thriller with horrific elements, and that's how I would probably describe it. So, Snakewoman, yes, put it on your radar to read. Find it in the dollar bin. As I said, I found a copy of issue number 1 this year in a dollar bin. I haven't really been looking for more than that. It just came across because I like the cover so much. Buy yourself a copy of number 1 to speculate on, but if you get a chance, pick up the series and read the series. It's well worth the read. All right, that's it for me today. Thanks for listening. Be good to yourself and be good to others. We'll see you again soon.